A Metropolitan Police officer is to face a charge of racially abusing a man in East London last summer. Originally, the Crown Prosecution Service decided not to act over the claims, which emerged in a recording made on the alleged victim's mobile phone. Today, prosecutors say it's regrettable that they made the wrong decision initially. Alison Saunders from the CPS had this to say.
It is regrettable that the original decision was wrong, but I hope that the action taken and my decision today demonstrates the willingness of the CPS to review its decisions independently and swiftly and to take appropriate action where necessary.
Alison Saunders there from the Crown Prosecution Service. Well, here to share his thoughts is Jide, Lanlehin, a barrister and member of the Society of Black Lawyers. Welcome to BBC Radio Nottingham.
Thank you.
Can I ask first, how significant do you feel the decision of the CPS to change their mind on this matter is?
I think it's a very significant decision. I think it's one which, of course, we'd have to welcome such a decision. It's not usual, I would suggest, that they would make a big U-turn. But having said that, we know that there's been a public outcry on the decision not to prosecute the officer concerned in this case. But in any event, I think it's welcome, it's significant, and we should now look forward to the matter being prosecuted through the courts.
Well, I was going to ask there, it's whether it is unusual for prosecutors to review a decision in this way in your experience, and clearly it is.
Well, I think in the normal course of events, in cases which did not make the media, or should I say, came into the public domain, as this case has come into the public domain, you find that sometimes that they do review their decisions. But in cases of this nature, which involves public officers, particularly police officers, it's a very significant U-turn. It's a welcome U-turn, and it was not before time. The decision taken in the first place was not the right one. And we think that it's about time that the right decision was taken, and we welcome the decision that they took.
Doesn't it reflect really badly on whoever took the original decision, though?
Of course it does. But the problem we have is that we can debate, and it will be a purely academic debate, as to what motivated the previous decision, which was not the right decision. But the reality is that they've now taken the right decision, and they've decided to prosecute. So we probably shouldn't waste too much time, even though the temptation is there to do so, on why the previous person or the authority that took the decision that they took, which is obviously the wrong one.
Jide Lanlehin, barrister and member of the Society of Black Lawyers on BBC Radio Nottingham. Also joining us is the chair of the Met Black Police Association, Bevan Powell. Very good to have you with us this afternoon.
Good evening.
Tell us what your organisation makes of the change of heart by the Crown Prosecution Service.
Well, again, as the colleague said, it's welcomed, but I think questions need to be asked as to what happened the first time. Our concern really, it's one of public trust and confidence. You know, as we've said many times in the Black Police Association, there is no room for racism within the police service. And the Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner have come out and said that there is no room for racism. And so therefore, in terms of the service delivery chain, you know, of cases that we send through to the IPCC, etc., which then go on to the Crown Prosecution Service, you would expect them to take quite seriously any allegations of racial discrimination or racial abuse or inappropriate behaviour. So we're concerned that perhaps, we can't say what happened in the first instance, but I think CPS had to demonstrate to the public that they do take these issues seriously, and that they have in place a process of quality assurance in terms of decision making, so that these U-turns, that we won't see too many of those, and that we get the right decisions in the first place.
Well, you touched on it there, and without obviously discussing the cases directly, Tell us what you make of what seems to be quite a concerted effort to root out racism within the force.
Well, first of all, there is no room for racism in a modern 21st century police service. There can be no room for that. And we expect every single police chief across the country, to be saying that quite robustly to their staff and to communities that they serve. We welcomed, as I said earlier, the comments made by the Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner, which basically echoed what I've just said in terms of there is no room for racism, certainly not within the Metropolitan Police Service. Mm-hmm. But I think the challenge for police services up and down the country is to ensure that they actually have appropriate and effective procedures that can identify very, very quickly whether there is, a more extensive problem of racism within the culture of their particular organisation. And I think it goes beyond the police because, as we've seen the U-turn by CPS, we have to look at the criminal justice system as a whole. And that's why our organisation is calling for a cross-Whitehall committee to look at the whole issue of race in the criminal justice system.
Have you, as the Black Police Association, been consulted on any of this?
Absolutely. We're working very closely with the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Bernard Hogan-Howe, and the Deputy Commissioner, Craig McKee. We've worked quite closely, and we are supporting them. The Commissioner's asking for, a whole process of review and change within the organisation, and we will work with him to achieve that.
Now, Bevan, in another but equally sad story, you may have heard in the news that a young black man was murdered over the weekend here in Nottingham. Do you think that cases like these should be seen in a wider context of crime in Nottingham?
The loss of any young person's life is tragic, and I think there is a wider aspect to this. In London, unfortunately, we see young people losing their lives to gun crime and to knife crime. We believe that there is a wider aspect to this, and that's why we're asking for an approach to be taken rather than just a pure enforcement approach. I think we need a broader approach under a public health approach. That means that we don't just look to the police service in terms of supporting young people. It's an issue for schools, it's an issue for families, to ensure that families get the appropriate support where support is needed, that schools get the support, local authorities. So we've got to try and understand why this is happening. And I know some may talk about black on black violence. We certainly don't believe in that term. These are young people who we all have to take responsibility for. These are young people in our local communities. And we believe that it's a community responsibility, not just that of the police service.